In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use the power of DAX, specifically average, AVERAGEA and AVERAGEX, to take your Power BI measures to the next level. I'm going to go through how to create them, as well as some examples on when you should be using them. So if you're interested in all that, without further ado, let's get started. Hi guys, my name is Fernan and welcome to the Solutions Abroad YouTube channel, where I focus on teaching beginners the wonderful world that is Power BI. I upload new videos every week, so make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as the bell icon to get notified when a new one is out. So you're probably in this video because you have a report and you need to create a measure to average some values in it. Or maybe you're just curious about how average functions work. Well, let's go through this example that I prepared for you guys so I can show you how they work. I have a product table here that I took from the Northwind database. It's a sample database that Microsoft provides that has some mock-up data that we can use for things like this. I modified the data slightly for this video, but if you want to connect to this same database, I'll leave a link in the description box below. We have a bunch of products here and a couple of details about them, like their price and number of units sold. Let's start by getting the average price of the products by supplier. So click New Measure. Let's name our measure, so average unit price, and type equals. Now we're going to write average. The IntelliSense does a great job of showing you what sort of functions you can use as you type. Also, it shows you some brief description of what the functions do, as well as what functions you need in order to make them work. In this case, we need average. So if you press enter or tab, it fills the rest of the function for you. The function asks us, okay, I need a column. And already you can see the IntelliSense suggesting what column names are available for you to use. All you need to do is use the arrow keys to look for unit price, press enter, and it writes out the whole column name for you. We finish writing our function by closing the parentheses and hitting enter. Let's drag that to our table and let's see what happens. So as you can see, the measure column we made just looks exactly like the unit price column. So what's happening here? Don't forget that the measure calculations work on context. So it's trying to get the average price for each product, and there's only one unit price for each product. Let's change the context of this table by removing the product column. Now that the context of this table is on our supplier ID, you'll see that the values on unit price and average unit price are different. Our measure is now getting the average unit price of the products by this category. Just one thing to be aware of is that if you have any blank cells, this will be ignored in the actual calculation. So for example, in our case, if I bring back the products column, you can see that the dried pears don't have a unit price. The cell for that column is blank. Let's pay close attention to the supplier where this belongs to. What the average function does when we remove the product column is it adds up all the prices for the supplier 3. So 25 plus 40, then divides it by 2 instead of 3. So as I said before, because this cell is blank, this gets ignored in the calculation. So that's a pretty easy way to use the average function, right? So if you are familiar with Excel functions, you'll pretty much feel at home here. So what about AVERAGEA? What's the difference? Well, the short answer is not really that much. The only difference is that if you have any non-numeric values in your column, this actually gets counted as 0 and counted into the calculation itself. So that means if you have any scenarios where you want your function to return 0 instead of erroring out, this is a good alternative to the average function. Let me show you what I mean by that. If I click Transform Data, this will open up the Power Query window. You can see the list of transformations I did on the Northwind database here. This replace values step I used just to demo how the functions will work with data that has blank values. Let's try to change this to a text value. You'll get an error saying that you have to enter a number value because you're putting the value into a column that is a number type, so it only accepts numerical values. You're probably thinking to yourself, Fernan, what if the column type is text, for example? Well, let's see how our report handles that. Let's close our Power Query window because we didn't really change anything here. Click the measure that we made and let's modify this one to see the results in our table. If I change the function to AVERAGEA and hit enter, you'll see that not much visually has changed, and that's normal. They're not supposed to be too different from each other. Here's what's different. If we change it back to average, and let's switch the column we're evaluating, so product name instead. It doesn't make any sense, but bear with me on this. So this errors out our table. If you look at the details, you'll see that Power BI do not parse average with string types, which makes sense. You can't really calculate averages on text values. Now watch what happens if I swap the function to AVERAGEA. You'll see that this function returns 0 for non-numerics instead of erroring out and making your visuals unusable. This is useful in some scenarios, but really Power Query does a great job at giving you handrails on this. It tells you through errors that it's expecting a certain format in order to work properly. I also want to show you another way that you can use AVERAGEA, but we're going to move to Excel because I can't replicate this scenario in Power BI. I copied the exact same products table that we have on Power BI into my Excel here. I changed the product dried pairs value to a text value. This is what we can't replicate in Power BI, as you remember, because it only takes number values. I wrote two formulas here, average and AVERAGEA, to show you the difference. Average totals the unit prices and divides it up by 9, excluding the non-numeric value that we have. Whereas AVERAGEA also totals up the unit prices, it divides it up by 10, so it counts all our products, including our non-numeric row. I hope that made sense. Let's move on to the more exciting function, which is the AVERAGEX. This function is what we call an iterator. It means that it iterates through its evaluations on every row. It sounds really confusing the first time, but once you start using it yourself, you'll find that it's actually pretty easy to use and super powerful. So let's go back to our product scenario. Let's say you need to create a measure that calculates your average profit. Now you calculate the profit by multiplying your unit price to units sold, then averaging the results of that. Now you can do this in many different ways. You can create a calculated column to multiply the unit price against units sold, or maybe you can add it as a step in your Power Query. But while those are perfectly valid options, you still need to create an extra column or an extra step in your Power Query, which I think is unnecessary. Let me show you how you can accomplish this in AVERAGEX. Let's create a new measure. Let's name it average profit equals, then type AVERAGEX. Now you'll see that from the tooltips, this function asks for two different things and quite different from the normal average function. I'll go back to these and explain to you how they work later. But for now, let's type the table that we want to evaluate. In this case, products. Then let's type our expression. So in this case, we want to write unit price multiplied by units sold. Let's close this function. Let's hit enter. And then let's drag this into our table. So that works. It will probably be a lot easier to see if I remove the products column again. So how does this function work? So let's go back to the measure itself and break it down into 3 steps. So the first thing that it does is that when you define a table, in this case products, it actually creates a temporary copy of this table in memory. So any expression or transformation that you do will be done in this temporary table, right? So you won't be affecting the original. Next is that the expression that you wrote will be applied to this temporary table. So in this case, we have a unit price multiplied by units sold. It's not being done in the original table, but in this temporary table that we made. Finally, our function aggregates our results now as averages. It then displays the results from our temporary table back into our original table based on the row context there. This process repeats or iterates on every row context. So that's why we call it an iterator function. If you're not too familiar about row context, I cover it in my sum in SumX video in the past, so check that one out. In our case, you can see that it's multiplied the unit price and units sold, but no averaging is happening. There's really nothing to average in this context, except the total average. Only until we remove the product name column and set the context to supplier that we can see our average working. If at this point you're still unsure about how average works, let's work through another scenario. Let's say you wanted to get the average profits, but only those products that sold more than 10. Again, like many things in Power BI, you can do this in many different ways, but let's focus on just doing this in the measure. What we can do is to go back to our AVERAGEX function and modify our temporary table so we can exclude those products. Let's clean this code up a little bit using Shift-Enter. It just spaces your code up into different lines, and it's good to practice to do so if you want to avoid writing like long unreadable measures. So we want to filter out our temporary table to exclude some products without it affecting the original table. So let's delete products and replace it with a filter function. This function does exactly that. It needs a table, products, and an expression. So here's where we'll type units sold is greater than 10. We'll close the function and hit enter. You can see it now excludes those products that have sold less than 10. So they're showing up as blank in our measure. Let's go back to our measure and go through those three main steps. First, it creates a temporary table where we apply our calculations, right? But instead of getting a full copy of the products table, don't forget that we're filtering out this table to only get the products that have units sold of more than 10. So next, it will apply our expression into our temporary table. So unit price multiplied by unit sold. Now don't forget that because this temporary table is filtered, the expression is only being applied to those products that were filtered in here. Lastly, it aggregates our results as averages, and then it displays it back into our original table based on our row context. I hope that clarifies what AVERAGEX is and in what scenarios you could use them. Congratulations if you made it this far into the video. So just to summarize, the average function gets the average of a numerical type column. AVERAGEA is the same except it accepts non-numerical values. And AVERAGEX lets you define a table and expressions to get your average. So did my explanations make sense, or was it too rambly? Let me know in the comment section below. Give this video a like if it helped you. It's the best way to let me know that you're enjoying this type of content. Get in touch using the social media links that I added in the description box below. And thank you so much for watching this video, guys. See you again on the next one.